ஹலோ காய்ஸ், how are you all? இன்னைக்கு நம்ம தண்டர்போல்ட் படத்தோட ரீகேப் பண்ண போகிறோம். படத்தோடது இல்லை, அந்த படம் பார்க்குறதுக்கு முன்னாடி வரைக்கும் எவ்ரி திங் தட் யூ ஷுட் நோ பிஃபோர் வாட்சிங் த மார்வல்ஸ் தண்டர்போல்ட். அதுதான் கான்செப்ட். இங்கே நம்ம தலைவன் ஒன்று செம்மையாக பண்ணுறான்னா, இன்னொரு தலைவன் சூப்பராக பண்ணுவான். அவன் தான் ஸ்க்ரீன் க்ரஷ். வாங்க அவனையும் போய் சப்போர்ட் பண்ணுவோம். இங்கே இருக்க ஸ்க்ரீன் க்ரஷ், எவ்ரி திங் யூ நீட் டு நோ.
We are the Thunderbolts!
Can't call ourselves that.
God, thank you.
Thank God.
The Thunderbolts.
It's a cool name.
Hey, welcome back, Screen Crush. I'm Ryan Airy, and this is everything you need to know before the Thunderbolts Asterix. We are going to explain the tragic stories of this band of misfits, their abilities, and how all of this is going to connect to Avengers, Doomsday, and Secret Wars.
Ooh, there's some big threat out there, and you are gonna help me stop it.
Wait, us?
Yeah, you. Why, you got someplace to be?
So let's go all the way back to World War II, when the evil organization called Hydra is working to take over the world, and they are led by Johann Schmidt, who became the Red Skull after an injection from super soldier serum. Now, Schmidt forced a German scientist named Abraham Erskine to develop this super soldier serum for Hydra, and the serum unlocks peak human potential, giving people super strength, enhanced durability, faster healing, and you can run faster.
I can't get drunk.
But the serum also amplifies the mind, specifically personality traits. So someone who is good will become great, but an unstable person like Schmidt will become completely evil.
Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
In the United States, James Buchanan Barnes, or simply Bucky, joins the Army and is about to ship out. But first, he hangs out with his best friend, Steve Rogers, a scrawny kid from Brooklyn who stands up to bullies even if they're twice his size.
I can do this all day.
Yay!
To contribute to the fight against evil, so he repeatedly tries to enlist in the Army.
There are men laying down their lives. I got no right to do any less than them.
While Bucky goes off to war, Steve is recruited into Project Rebirth, an American project to create super soldiers to fight Nazis. And this program is led by Erskine, who has switched sides to the Americans, and he believes that Steve is the right choice because
a strong man who has known power all his life may lose respect for that power, but a weak man knows the value of strength and knows compassion.
Steve successfully transforms into a superhuman, Hydra assassinates Erskine, and the secret for recreating the serum is lost forever. Well, at least for a while. While Steve becomes a propaganda character named Captain America, Bucky and his unit are captured by Hydra. Red Skull is working with the Swiss scientist Arnim Zola, and he creates his own version of the super serum, and he experiments on Bucky. So Bucky gets a little bit of super juice into his own blood.
What kind of super serum did you get?
I don't know, regular. Hydra.
Hydra? Oh, fancy.
Captain America rescues Bucky and the other soldiers, and they assemble the Howling Commandos, a unit that turns the tide against Hydra. But everything goes wrong on a mission that turns out to be a trap. Bucky is blasted off a train and he falls seemingly to his death, but he's actually captured by Hydra.
My death was greatly exaggerated.
Now, Steve eventually defeats the Red Skull and stops his evil plans, but he sacrifices himself and he's lost in the ice for decades. Now, what was that?
I don't know what that sound was.
Is that a knock?
Person, what is that?
Oh, weird. It looks like some kind of delivery. Oh, all right, let's open it up and see. Ah! This is from Syndicate. They're the sponsor of this video. Guys, Syndicate is a unique and unforgettable cake experience. And I know I could just send somebody flowers, but sometimes you want to give, like, offer a range of fun and deliver 10% off your send.
One is sending us cakes. But who?
Now, back to what I was saying. Captain America's disappearance starts a new kind of arms race to create super soldiers. Now, Bucky survived the fall in part because of super soldier serum in his blood, and he's taken to a Hydra facility in Russia. Turns out Hydra wasn't destroyed. They existed in secret, growing like a beautiful parasite inside the American intelligence agency, S.H.I.E.L.D.
They cut off one head.
Two more shall take its place.
So, Hydra erases Bucky's memories, brainwashing him to become the Winter Soldier, a super assassin who is activated by code words to kill countless people on Hydra's orders. In the 1950s, the United States gives a variant serum to a soldier named Isaiah Bradley. But rather than let a black man be Captain America, they lock him up in prison for 30 years until he fakes his death and escapes back to his home of Baltimore.
We met in 51.
If by met you mean I whooped your ass, then yeah.
In the 1990s, the Winter Soldier kills Tony Stark's parents and steals a new version of the super serum that Howard had created. Hydra produces more super soldiers, but they were too unstable, so they were put on ice. Additionally, during the Cold War, the Soviets created their own super serum. Alexei Shostakov was chosen to be the Red Guardian, the Russian version of Captain America.
Captain America. My great adversary in this theater of geopolitical conflict.
So Alexei becomes a sleeper agent in America with a fake family that consists of his fake wife, Melina Vostokov, and his fake daughters, Natasha Romanov and Yelena Belova. But after they're discovered, Natasha and Yelena are sent to the Red Room, a program that trains young women to be assassins and spies.
Oh, so they're super soldiers too?
No, they are highly trained badass women with no superpowers, but they love doing some Hurricane Ranas and their signature poses.
It's a fighting pose. You're a total poser.
Not a poser.
Now, as part of their brutal training, Natasha and Yelena are forced through the horrible graduation that sterilizes them. And this is the Red Room's messed up way to control these women fully.
The one thing that might matter more than a mission.
The Red Room is run by General Dreykov. After he and Alexei have a falling out, he sends Alexei to prison. Now, years later, S.H.I.E.L.D. agent Clint Barton was sent to kill Natasha, but he decides to give her a second chance. But to prove her loyalty to S.H.I.E.L.D., Natasha has to assassinate, but he sends Alexei to prison. Now, years later, S.H.I.E.L.D. agent Clint Barton was sent to kill Natasha, but he decides to give her a second chance. But to prove her loyalty to S.H.I.E.L.D., Natasha has to assassinate Dreykov by bombing his home, even though his young daughter, Antonia, is home with him. Dreykov and his daughter survived, and he turns his own daughter into a super Black Widow called the Taskmaster. She can mimic any fighting style, but Dreykov uses a chip in her mind to control her. Now, Natasha joined S.H.I.E.L.D., but she did not know that Dreykov survived and that the Red Room continued to operate. And Yelena stayed captive as a Black Widow. The Cold War created yet another tragic member of the Thunderbolts. In the 1990s, Elias Starr, a disgruntled ex-S.H.I.E.L.D. scientist, builds a quantum tunnel to harness energy from the quantum realm, which is a separate, tiny universe that exists within like the vast multiverse. Starr was fired and discredited by Hank Pym, who is also the superhero known as Ant-Man, and his wife, Janet, is the superhero called the Wasp. So Starr's quantum tunnel collapses, killing him and his wife. But their daughter, Ava, survived the explosion, but she was soaked with quantum energy that transformed her on the molecular level. She's able to phase through objects like a ghost.
What?
This triggers quantum displacement that slowly causes her molecules to decay.
Every cell in my body is torn apart and stitched back together over and over every day.
Now, scientist Bill Foster tries to help her by taking her to S.H.I.E.L.D. S.H.I.E.L.D. creates a special containment suit for her, but they exploit her condition and turn her into a super assassin.
So all the Thunderbolts are victims of evil organizations that made them kill people.
Yes, that is the pattern. In 2009, Natasha encountered the Winter Soldier after he shoots through her stomach to kill a scientist that she was protecting. Now, sometime later, Natasha works with Nick Fury, the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., a scientist that she was protecting. Now, Natasha encountered the
organizations that made them kill people.
Yes, that is the pattern. In 2009, Natasha encountered the Winter Soldier after he shoots through her stomach to kill a scientist that she was protecting. Now, sometime later, Natasha works with Nick Fury, the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., to help recruit Tony Stark to join something called
The Avenger Initiative.
In 2011, S.H.I.E.L.D. finds Steve and he helps assemble the Avengers, which include Natasha as a team member, and they stop the Asgardian god Loki, who is leading an alien invasion. Then, in 2014, Hydra is planning to take over the world using Project Insight, an algorithm created by Artem Zola to eliminate any threat with these three helicarriers.
Like Minority Report.
Exactly. But after S.H.I.E.L.D. director Nick Fury uncovers their plan, Hydra sends the Winter Soldier to kill him. Fury fakes his death, and this leads to Steve and Natasha finding out that Hydra infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. decades ago. They are soon joined by Sam Wilson, an ex-Air Force pilot who uses the Falcon wingsuit. After uncovering Hydra's evil plan, they fight the Winter Soldier, and Steve discovers that his long-lost best friend is still alive.
Bucky? Who the hell is Bucky?
After the fight, the Winter Soldier is conflicted because he kind of recognizes Steve. After the heroes reunite with the not-so-dead Fury, they hatch a plan to stop Hydra before they commit genocide. Steve saves the day and the helicarriers destroy each other. And during the carnage, Steve refuses to fight the Winter Soldier because he believes that his friend is still in there underneath all that Hydra brainwashing. The Winter Soldier starts beating on Steve until he hears the words,
"'Cause I'm with you to the end of the line."
And this is what Bucky said to Steve a long, long time ago.
I'm with you to the end of the line, pal.
So this stops him, and something of the old Bucky resurfaces, and he saves Steve's life. Now, remember this for later, because Steve's belief in his friend's redemption and his faith in him gives Bucky the hope to overcome his dark past. But Bucky's mind is still too scrambled, so he leaves, trying to understand who he actually is. Tony Stark creates Ultron, a super AI deterrent against alien invasions. Remember, at this point, Tony Stark is the superhero Iron Man, and he's a member of the Avengers alongside Steve Rogers. But Ultron goes rogue and almost blows up the planet. The Avengers stop him, but in their battle, the country of Sokovia is destroyed. Afterwards, a former Sokovian Special Forces agent named Helmut Zemo seeks revenge against the Avengers because his family died during the battle. Zemo discovers the code words that control the Winter Soldier, and he finds out that Bucky killed Tony Stark's parents. So Zemo wants to tear the Avengers apart, so he frames Bucky for bombing the UN, which killed T'Chaka, the king of Wakanda. And Wakanda is a super secretive nation that holds all of the world's vibranium, which is the most powerful metal on Earth. The Prince of Wakanda, T'Challa, aka the Black Panther, vows vengeance against Bucky, but Steve gets to him first.
I read about you in a museum.
So Bucky's memories are still scrambled, so he kind of remembers Steve, but not really. After a fight with the authorities and the Black Panther, they are all arrested. Now, at this point, the Avengers are infighting because of a disagreement over the Sokovia Accords, a new law that says all superheroes must operate under government supervision. Steve is against it, but Tony Stark is for it.
We may not be perfect, but the safest hands are still our own.
Natasha stands with Tony, but it's not really because she agrees with the Accords. It's mostly because the Avengers are like a family for her, and she doesn't want to see her family split up.
Staying together is more important than how we stay together.
After her original family was destroyed, she's trying to do everything she can to keep this new family together. But remember, Yelena is still under the Red Room's control. Zemo infiltrates the facility where Bucky is kept, and after he uses the code words, the Winter Soldier is activated. He goes on a rampage, almost escapes, but Steve stops him with his super biceps. Now, when the helicopter crashes into the water, the Winter Soldier hits his head really hard, and this restores his memories.
60% of the time, it works. Every time.
Anyways, Bucky's personality is essentially divided into three. The Bucky before Hydra, the robotic Winter Soldier, and this new Bucky that lives with the guilty conscience of all of those old memories.
Do you even remember them? I remember all of them.
So, to stop Zemo, Steve and Bucky and all their friends assemble a team that opposes the Sokovia Accords, and then they fight Team Iron Man. And Sam and all their friends, this new Bucky that lives with the guilty conscience of all of those old memories.
Do you even remember them? I remember all of them.
So, to stop Zemo, Steve and Bucky and all their friends assemble a team that opposes the Sokovia Accords, and then they fight Team Iron Man. And Sam and Bucky have this cool frenemy thing going on.
Can you move your seat up? No.
Natasha switches sides, helping they fight Team Iron Man. And Sam and Bucky have this cool frenemy thing going on.
Can you move your seat up? No.
Natasha switches sides, helping Steve and Bucky escape. Wait, why did she betray Tony? Well, after what the Red Room did to her, Natasha understands that Zemo and the brainwashed super soldiers are like a major threat. And eventually, Tony realizes this too, so he joins Steve and Bucky at the Hydra facility. But it turns out that Zemo actually killed all the sleeping Winter Soldiers because in his mind, any enhanced individual is too dangerous to live. He doesn't want a super soldier army, he just wants to destroy the Avengers.
I'm here because I made a promise.
And he achieves his goal when showing Tony a recording of Bucky killing his parents.
This isn't going to change what happened.
I don't care. He killed my mom.
Tony goes ballistic and tries to kill Bucky, while Steve sides with his old friend and Bucky's metal arm is destroyed. In the end, Steve wins the fight and the Avengers break up. Now Bucky is taken to Wakanda and they help treat Hydra's brainwashing. So this brings us to the movie Black Widow. Years earlier, after Natasha tried to assassinate Dreykov, Dreykov started mind controlling the remaining Black Widows with a new serum that robs them of all free will. This serum was created with the help of Melina, Natasha and Yelena's fake mom, who didn't know that Dreykov was using this mind controlling the remaining Black Widows with a new serum that robs them of all free will. This serum was created with the help of Melina, Natasha and Yelena's fake mom, who didn't know that Dreykov was using this mind control on the Black Widows.
What are you doing?
Oh, I am explaining that the science is now so exact. The subject can be instructed to stop breathing and has no choice but to obey.
Now, during a mission, Yelena confronts a Black Widow who created the Red Dust, a counter serum that frees her from the mind control. Yelena sends the Red Dust to Natasha, hoping that the Avengers will stop Dreykov. But the Avengers are broken up and Natasha is on the run.
I kept checking the news, expecting to see Captain America bringing down the Red Room.
So after Taskmaster is sent to kill Natasha, the sisters reunite in Budapest. When Natasha became an Avenger, Yelena blamed her sister for not saving her, even though Natasha had no idea that the Red Room was still active.
Where did you think I was all this time?
I thought that you got out and were living a normal life.
And you just never made contact again?
Honestly, I thought you didn't want to see me.
But the sisters put aside their differences to bring the Red Room down. To find its secret location, they break Alexei out of prison. And his time inside has kind of messed with his head. He's like a big teddy bear and he really loves his daughters. He also has delusions of grandeur and he is obsessed with his glory as the Red Guardian. And also, he's an idiot.
Yelena, you went on to become the greatest child assassin the world has ever known.
So Alexei takes the sisters to their fake mom, Melina,
Child assassin.
as the Red Guardian. And also, he's an idiot.
Yelena, you went on to become the greatest child assassin the world has ever known.
So Alexei takes the sisters to their fake mom, Melina, because she is working with Dreykov. Natasha distances herself from her spy family, but for Yelena, those years in Ohio were the only happy times of her life before she became a brainwashed Black Widow.
It was real to me. You are my mother. The best part of my life was fake. And none of you told me.
So for her, this is the closest thing she has to a real family. She forms a strong bond with Alexei, so he might not be her father, but he is her papa.
Sing.
This will be the day that
Natasha and Melina hatch a plan, allowing Taskmaster to capture them and then take them straight to the Red Room. Natasha confronts Dreykov and, with Yelena's help, they get the data to free the Black Widows and bring down the Red Room. Yelena attempts to sacrifice herself to kill Dreykov, but Natasha saves her. In the end, Natasha has to confront the living embodiment of her actions by facing Taskmaster. And by freeing Antonia, she frees herself from the traumas of her past. Afterwards, Yelena forgives Natasha and the family helps Antonia and the others free the remaining Black Widows. But Natasha doesn't join them since she needs to reunite with her other family.
If it can work out with the four of us, there may be some hope for the Avengers.
So let's quickly rewind the clock back to 2014. After S.H.I.E.L.D. collapsed, Ghost was left without a cure, and her condition is getting worse. Bill Foster formed a plan to help her to use quantum energy to cure Ava. And as it happens, Hank Pym and his daughter, Hope, are building a quantum tunnel. You see, Janet, Hank's wife, had to go subatomic to stop a ballistic missile. So this meant that she kept shrinking until she was lost in the quantum realm for 30 years. The new Ant-Man, Scott Lang, also traveled to the quantum realm, and when he was down there, Janet created a quantum connection with him.
Do you guys just put the word quantum in front of everything?
Hank and Hope are going to use this quantum tunnel to rescue her, while Ava and Foster plan to use the tunnel to cure Ava by siphoning the quantum energy from Janet. So Hank rescues Janet from the quantum realm, and now she has like crazy quantum abilities that she uses to stabilize Ava's quantum displacement. In the end, Ava regrets what she's done, and the Ant Fam promises to help find her a cure. In Wakanda, Shuri uses her super science to remove the code words that trigger the Winter Soldier.
you're free.
Ooh.
But sometime later, Thanos and his army attack Wakanda. Thanos is on a quest to collect 6 magical rocks to wipe out half of all life in the universe. So Bucky joins the fight to save the universe. But before the battle, Bucky is given a new prosthetic arm made of vibranium, but then they just give him a regular ass gun.
How much for the gun?
Not for sale.
Okay, how much for the arm? Oh, I'll get that arm.
But the Avengers lose, and Thanos snaps away 50% of all life in the universe, including Bucky. Just before the blip, Scott travels into the quantum realm to collect some quantum energy to help Ava. But then, Hope, Hank, and Janet are dusted, and Scott is trapped in the quantum realm for 5 years. Now, Ava didn't blip, but as far as we know, her cure was never finished. However, she managed to get by because she is still alive. Now, 5 years after the snap, the Avengers go on a time heist to collect the Infinity Stones to bring everyone back. Natasha and Clint travel to Vormir to collect the Soul Stone, and she is still alive. Now, 5 years after the snap, the Avengers go on a time heist to collect the Infinity Stones to bring everyone back. Natasha and Clint travel to Vormir to collect the Soul Stone, and to obtain the stone, one of them must die. Natasha makes the ultimate sacrifice by forcing Clint to let her go, and she falls to her death.
Let me go.
Please no.
It's
Her sacrifice allows the Avengers to bring everyone back, including Yelena. Bucky and all the other heroes ever arrive through magical portals, the Avengers assemble, and the battle for Earth begins. It all culminates with Tony Stark sacrificing his life to defeat Thanos. Then, Steve goes on a mission to return the stones back to the past.
Don't do anything stupid
Until I get back.
How can I? You're taking all the stupid with you.
But he's not planning on coming back, and Bucky knows it when they say their goodbyes. Steve actually goes back to live his life with Peggy Carter in an alternate timeline. But in the present day, Bucky and Sam find an older Steve. And this old man Steve passes his shield to Sam.
I'll do my best. That's why it's yours.
After Avengers Endgame, Bucky is drifting without a purpose, unable to move on from the trauma of his past.
What you did all those years, it wasn't you. You didn't have a choice.
I know. But I did it.
And then things get worse when Sam gives up the shield. Now, why do you do that again? Because people have a certain image in mind of what Captain America should look like. And as a black man, Sam knows that every action he makes as Captain America would be scrutinized. So it's simpler to just stay his own man and let the Captain America legacy remain a symbol. But the government takes the shield and gives it to John Walker, a highly decorated soldier who represents everything that the public associates with Steve Rogers. Walker teams up with his best friend, Lamar Hoskins, aka Battlestar. John is also married to Olivia Walker, a supportive wife who believes in him. At the same time, a woman named Carly Morgenthau leads a terrorist group called the Flag Smashers against an organization called the GRC. They are a global organization that has failed to deal with the massive refugee crisis post-Blip. Carly and her followers get powers after stealing a new super soldier serum. Bucky teams up with Sam to stop them, but Bucky is also angry that Sam gave up the shield.
He gave you that shield for a reason. That shield, that is everything he stood for. That is his legacy. So maybe he was wrong about you. And if he was wrong about you, then he was wrong about me.
Bucky also kinda hates Walker because he sees him as a cheap imitation of his best friend. After a failed fight with the Flag Smashers, Bucky takes Sam to meet Isaiah Bradley. And of course, Isaiah tells him to scram. With no other leads, Bucky decides to break Zemo out of prison. So Zemo takes him to Madripoor and dances his ass off. After confronting the scientist who created this new serum, the trio go after the Flag Smashers. Sam attempts to reason with Carly, since first and foremost he believes in people, even when everybody else gives up on them. This makes him similar to Steve, who stood up for Bucky through thick and thin. But Walker shows up and ruins everything because he is desperate to prove that he is worthy of the shield. After getting his ass kicked by the Dora Milaje, Walker starts crumbling under the weight of the Captain America mantle.
Do you know who I am?
He believes that being Captain America means that he must be strong enough to take on any threat, so he secretly takes the last super soldier vial.
Welcome to the club, man.
But becoming a super soldier makes him extremely unstable and hostile. And during another fight, Carly kills Lamar and this sets Walker off. In his juiced up rage, Walker goes full Homelander, publicly killing a Flag Smasher in cold blood. This incident convinces Sam that he needs to finally accept the name of Captain America, so he and Bucky fight Walker for the shield. Later, the government strips Walker of the Captain America title. However, he declares that
I am Captain America.
But then he is recruited by Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. She manipulates him into embracing his dark side and validating his actions.
You would have been doing him a favor if you'd taken out the whole lot.
Now, Valentina is the director of the CIA, and she has evil plans for American supremacy, including toppling Wakanda and stealing all their natural resources. Valentina has also bought Avengers Tower from Tony Stark.
I mean, the place wasn't cheap, but it's got good optics.
So, Zemo escapes and Bucky tracks him down to the Sokovian Memorial. Even after everything Zemo put Bucky through, he finally overcomes his past by letting his enemy live. Zemo is arrested and taken to the underwater prison called the Raft. Meanwhile, the Flag Smashers attack the GRC in New York, so Sam gets a new Captain America suit and flies to the rescue. Bucky saves the GRC members from the Flag Smashers and he gets help from Walker. So he's a good guy now? Well, at first, Walker wanted revenge, but when people are in danger, he proves that deep down, he does have the capacity to be a hero.
Being Cap's the first time I've had the chance to do something that actually feels right.
Now, in the end, Sam fights Carly, but she's too far gone and she's killed. Afterwards, Sam confronts the GRC for their failure to contain the situation, which allowed Carly to gain so much public support. Sam also makes sure that Isaiah's sacrifices will be honored, and he helps Bucky to work through his trauma.
But you gotta make them feel better. You gotta go to them and be of service.
So Bucky is able to make amends for the people that he has hurt over the years. Valentina recruits Walker and gives him a new blacked out Captain America suit, dubbing him U.S. Agent.
I'll have you know I was actually the official Captain America, so...
Yeah, for like 2 seconds.
U.S. Agent.
I'll have you know I was actually the official Captain America, so...
Yeah, for like 2 seconds.
And according to Valentina,
things are about to get weird. So when they do, we're not gonna need a Captain America.
Possibly hinting at the government creating a new hero called the Sentry.
He's invincible, all-powerful, stronger than all of the Avengers rolled into one.
Valentina also recruits Yelena. She was blipped, but when she came back, she discovered that Natasha had died. So Valentina manipulates Yelena into believing that Clint Barton, aka Hawkeye, is responsible for Natasha's death. Why would she do that? Well, Valentina was hired by Eleanor Bishop.
Why would she do that? இது நல்ல கேள்வி எனக்கு. இது ஆக்சுவலி இந்த ரீகேப்ல ஏன் இந்த பெர்ஸ்பெக்டிவ் எதனால இல்லைங்கிறதுலாம் கொஞ்சம் பிளாங்க்ஸா இருந்துச்சு. இப்போ அதெல்லாம் கொஞ்சம் கிளியரா
So
இருக்கு.
Valentina manipulates Yelena into believing that Clint Barton, aka Hawkeye, is responsible for Natasha's death.
Why would she do that?
Well, Valentina was hired by Eleanor Bishop to assassinate Clint because he was interfering in her criminal business with Wilson Fisk, the king. Hawkeye is responsible for Natasha's death.
Why would she do that?
Well, Valentina was hired by Eleanor Bishop to assassinate Clint because he was interfering in her criminal business with Wilson Fisk, the kingpin. Clint's involvement puts Eleanor's daughter, Kate, at risk because Kate is the one and only Hawkeye fangirl in the world. During a fight, Yelena attacks Clint, but Kate stops her, and later they meet up to have some mac and cheese.
Kate Bishop.
Yay!
Hi.
Clint and Kate team up against the Tracksuit Mafia, a gang led by the Kingpin, but then Yelena shows up and tries to kill Clint again. He's able to convince Yelena that he and Natasha were actually good friends after using their secret whistle.
Can you blow my whistle, baby? Whistle, baby, let me know.
A few years later, Sam has fully embraced being Captain America, but then the newly elected president, Thunderbolt Ross, wants to reassemble the Avengers.
Wait, so the Avengers aren't even a team right now?
Nope, since Endgame, the Avengers are basically allergic to any kind of reassembly. Now, Ross has been a superhero hater for years, advocating for the Sokovia Accords and trying to arrest half the Avengers. But after being elected as president, Ross is trying to become a better man. However, a supervillain named the Leader has secretly been juicing him with gamma radiation pills, all part of a convoluted revenge plot to turn Ross into a Hulk in public. Now, during a battle, the new Falcon, Joaquin Torres, is severely injured, and in the hospital, Sam gets a surprise visit from Bucky, who gives him a pep talk about what he represents as Captain America.
Steve gave people something to believe in, but you give them something to aspire to.
And this is big because this shows how much Bucky has grown since the Winter Soldier brainwashing.
Look, you have the wrong people. We have all done bad things.
Look, I've been where you are. The past doesn't go away. So you can either live with it forever, or you can do something about it.
Also, Bucky is running for Congress. Ross turns into the Red Hawk and he rampages through DC, but Sam stops him with his greatest weapon, empathy.
But when showing there's more to you, it's not about when times are easy. It's about moments like this.
And in the end, Sam is preparing to finally, after years of waiting, assemble the new Avengers.
Good job.
However, it appears that there is no new team yet, which explains why the world needs the Thunderbolts asterisk. Now, I need to also mention that the Leader did give Sam a warning about the multiverse, saying that other worlds were going to invade Earth sometime in the future. So let's quickly explain the multiverse because the Thunderbolts will connect to Doctor Doom and the Multiversal War.
Ooh.
This entire team is returning in Avengers Doomsday.
Wait, us?
Yeah, you. Why, you got someplace to be?
The main MCU universe is called Earth 616, but there are many other universes in the multiverse, like the Fantastic Four-verse from the upcoming First Steps movie. There's also the Spider-Verses and the X-Men universes, and many of those mutants are also coming back in Avengers Doomsday.
They're gonna make him do this till he's 90.
Each universe has its variants, which are different versions of different characters. Now, the multiverse is enforced by a group called the Time Variance Authority. They're interdimensional time cops that maintain the natural flow of time. And at the very center of the multiverse, there's one god that gives life to every timeline, and that is Loki. He becomes the god of stories after taking the job from a god of life to every maintain the natural flow of time. And at the very center of the multiverse, there's one god that gives life to every timeline, and that is Loki. He becomes the god of stories after taking the job from a guy named He Who Remains, who doesn't matter for what we're talking about. Because the real threat to the multiverse is Doctor Doom, a variant from another universe that has Tony Stark's face. Now, that multiversal war that the Leader spoke about might start because of something called incursions. You see, sometimes the barrier between realities is broken because of incursions. When they're triggered, universes collide and destroy each other. And there are many things that can trigger incursions, especially magic and multiversal travel. And the danger is that these incursions could eventually kill the entire multiverse.
Well, it's a little more complicated, but yeah, great.
So guys, that covers everything you need to remember before watching the Thunderbolts asterisk. If there's anything that we've missed or if you have any questions, let us know in the comments below. And big shout out to Pavel T, who wrote and edited this video. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe and smash that bell for alerts. For Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy.
Sama. இப்போ ஃபுல்லாக கண்டென்ஸ் பண்ணி கொடுத்துருக்காரு பாருங்களேன். I always love thinking about the fact that Zemo didn't get killed off. He's a fantastic villain and has so much potential. The knot startled me for real. That knock sound scared the shit out of me. Alright, the knock threw me off completely. I almost started barking out of pure reflex. I built houses and I had this my headphone while in an incomplete house. That knock ruined my whole day. I was at work standing in front of a door, standing a patch. I have made food on the knock made me jump out of my pants. That was the realest knock I ever experienced. Different. So that was the recap, guys. The recap of the Thunderbolts. Everything that you should know before watching the movie. Hope you enjoyed it. நல்ல ஸ்ட்ரீமாக இன்றைக்கி முடிஞ்சுது. I know it took so long, but ஆனால் happy I did it this before the movie got released. இதுக்கப்புறம் எடிட் வர உட்காரணும், தெரியல என்ன இதுன்னு பண்ணுறேன். ஸோ இந்த ஸ்ட்ரீம் உங்களுக்கு பிடிச்சதுன்னா லைக் பண்ணுங்கள். அண்ட் இஃப் யூ வாண்ட் டு கிவ் சம் சஜஷன்ஸ், do it in comment section. And if you want to support me, just hit that subscribe button. That's how you can support any upcoming YouTubers like me. So no, not just tomorrow. Until then, bye bye. See you all. Peace out.